Today I'm going to show you how to make these sleeves. I will show you how I do it, and there's a lot of room for your own individual creativity, your own individual sizes, your own individual lengths. It starts off with just a raglan, and then we're just doing sleeves. It's really not that difficult once you see what it is that we're doing. And then you'll want to make like 10 of these, which is cool. Get one for every outfit. That's what I do. So for making the sleeves, I have 3 different types of yarn here that I'm planning on using, and they're different weights, they're different content. So it's okay that they have different washing instructions, because the only thing I've had to do in the past several years in wearing my sleeves is just to spot wash them. So it's really open to you to make what kind of art piece that you would like to wear on your shoulders. I enjoy putting in different types of yarn to give it more of a texture, more of an art look to them. Kind of almost like a free-form look, but the stitches I'm going to show you are very, very simple. Get your pop and your ooh-ah from the different yarns that you can put in. So I'm using 2 3-weight and 1 4-weight yarn. One is the True Boo, which is the 3 weights, 100% rayon from bamboo. It has a nice weight to it. You know, bamboo is a little bit heavier, and that helps the piece drape since I'm using such a large hook. And some other lighter yarns, I like it to have a little bit of weight so that it helps with the shape. And the other 2 that I'm using, one is this Snuggly Wuggly Loops and Threads that is 100% acrylic and a number 3 weight. The other one is Loops and Threads Flex. And this one is a blend. It's 79% acrylic, 21% polyester. I assume it's the Flex that make it, is the polyester part of that. So these will be the 3 that I use. Now in previous sleeves, I have used mohair, the really skinny, thin mohair, and just used a 9mm hook with it. It makes it really, really big. It's not the only one I use. You know, I pair it with some other ones. I also used, but this is the Bamboo Bloom. I used a different color of this, and you can see right here all of the different sizes, the weights that it goes through, from little tiny 2 or 3 to like a big old chunky bulky 6. Goes back and forth, and it's okay because you're using a big old hook, right? And so that gives it some interest. That would look nice too. Anyway, what I have done is created a foundation single crochet in a multiple of 6. And the reason that I do that, I'm going to be doing a raglan. It starts with a raglan pattern, and then it goes from there. So we start at the top, we start at the neckline. I like to have the area at the front and at the back 2 to 1 to the sleeves. And so what that means is that I did 60. And I did 60 foundation single crochets, and then made sure that it fit over my head and was at kind of a place where I wanted it to be, and I know it's going to stretch a lot. So I checked that out on my body, on my personhood, and just keep it as at a multiple of 6. And for every 1 at the sleeve, at each of the 2 sides, then I want 2 at the front and 2 at the back. And so you can do it with a chain and then go back and do a single crochet. You can do the foundation single crochet, however you would like to do it. Let me say real quick, I did a little something for my nails, some little stickers on there so that they'd be pretty. And then I was doing some printing for work, and I had to refill my black black ink on my printer. And I got ink on my hands and on my nails, and I've been working so hard to get that off of there. But sorry, so please forgive me. So with a foundation single crochet, in case you want to see. You just go into the chain that you've created. I didn't show you the beginning, I'm so sorry, but pull up a loop, make one chain with that, and then you yarn over and pull through the 2 loops that are on your hook. You go back into that chain that you made. Always go under 2 yarn strands, pull up a loop, yarn over, make a chain, yarn over, pull through both loops on your hook. And that's for a single crochet. Now I put my hook in here at the beginning so that I don't twist it. When I'm making a foundation single crochet with a large hook and thin yarn, it's really tough to keep track of where the tops of these stitches are. So this just helps me to stay in line and helps me to not twist it. So yeah, so here's the 60, and I just put that stitch marker in there so that I could go back to exactly where it was, put my hook back in, right where I have this hook going through my first stitch is where I am going to pull that stitch through like that. And now I'm going to chain 1 and put my stitch marker back in there to hold it. All my precious foundation single crochet stitches. All right, so here's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what I do with my stitch markers, as you do with a raglan, I think most people, if you've done raglans, I'm going to continue going in this direction. So I just connected to the beginning of my foundation single crochet. And what I'm going to do is put a stitch marker at, let's see, I did 60. And so it's going to be 10 for the sleeve, and then 20 for the front, 10 for the sleeve, 20 for the back, and then I'll be back to the beginning. So 10 for the sleeve, for the right sleeve. This is the back of the right sleeve. So there's 1. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Put 1 there. I have another stitch marker. I'm going to go 20 for the front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Put 1 in that stitch. Then I do 10 for the left sleeve. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Put 1 in that stitch. And then I should have 20 left for the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Oops, I'm so sorry. And 20. 20 there in the stitch that I connected it to. Because that's where I'm going to do my increases, is where I have my stitch markers. So I'm going to make my second row with half double crochets. Okay, yeah. So I am going to, at each one of these stitch markers, we want to have 3 stitches. Now I'm going to do 2 at the beginning. 2. Because I want the increase to remain within that same line. If I do 3, it ends up that you have to either do slip stitches over into the center one, or your line ends up traveling to the left as you increase. So what I like to do is to do the first 2, or not the first 2, the second and the third actually, of the 3 in the corner, and then I move up that stitch marker to what will be the center. So it's the very first stitch that I make here, the first of the 2 half double crochets that I just did. And then I'm going to just do 1 half double for the sleeve. I'm not loving this plastic hook these days. I mean, for a 9mm for a plastic hook, it's not bad. It is a clover, but I think it's the humidity here in Thailand that makes it a little bit sticky. It kind of grabs a little bit more than I remember it doing. So, I don't know. I don't like the metal ones as much because they're so heavy. I'm gonna go check out a local yarn store that I found here. See if they have some metal ones, and I'll just try it out. This one's really bothering me. So I'm at this next stitch marker. So I'm gonna put, this is where I'm doing my increase for the raglan. This is at the front of the right sleeve. So I'm gonna put 3 half double, because that's what I'm doing this round, is half double. 3. Now before I go on, I'm gonna take this stitch marker and move it up to the center, to the second of the 3 that I just did in that stitch, and leave it there. And then continue. Each time I get to a stitch marker, except for that very first one, I am going to put 3 stitches in it, and then move the stitch marker up to the second of the 3 so that it stays in the center. So that's always where I'm gonna put my increase. And I'm sorry, I'm not doing this. Oh my goodness, I have a knot. I'm not doing this tutorial as a beginner-friendly tutorial. I am assuming that you know how to make a half double crochet and a double crochet and a chain. So I hope that's okay. If you don't, then pause and go watch some of my other tutorials. I do have tutorials out there on how to make each one of the stitches. And I'll try to remember to put that down in the description box if you need to do that. This really, once you know your stitches, this is not a difficult pattern to do, or tutorial to follow. It's repetitive, but I will say that using the larger hook with the smaller yarn is a challenge if you are new to crochet. You'd think it would be easier, but really it's hard to keep the stitches uniform when you're not using a hook that the yarn calls for. You're going rogue, man. Going rogue. So for that, you may need a little bit of experience so that you can see the stitch where it is, so that you can keep the stitch uniform as you go along. I am at another stitch marker. Gonna put 3 half doubles here. 1, 2, 3. And move my stitch marker to the second. Ooh, no. These are really, really cheaply made little plastic stitch markers. So they have little things that grab on the yarn. Anyway, maybe I should go find some better ones. I have some good ones. I should be using good ones. Anyway, and now I'm gonna do 10. For the left sleeve. You don't have to keep track of what's the sleeve, what's the back, what's the other sleeve, what's the front. I'm just saying it as I go along. It helps me to kind of remember where I am, but trust your stitch markers and just put your single stitches in where there's no stitch marker. Where there's a stitch marker, put 3 in of whatever stitch you're doing that round. And then move your stitch marker up to the second of the 3 you do in that stitch. Here I'm at a stitch marker. So I'm gonna do 3 because I'm trusting that wherever it is, I knew when I put it in there that I wanted to have 3. Move my stitch marker up to the second of the 3 that I just did. Once again, I'd like to remind you, I am not this dirty of a person. I had to refill my ink on my printer, and I spilled the ink. Well, I didn't really spill the ink. Honestly, I don't know how so much got on me. I don't know. So I apologize, especially if you're watching on a television. It really looks bad, I'm pretty sure. Just watch the hook and the yarn. The hook and the yarn. The hook and the yarn. Be mesmerized by the hook and the yarn. You do not see the fingers in the video. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. So see, as you're going along, if you don't have the experience, and I'd stop myself. There's all of this. This looks like it's a blank stitch. It's an empty stitch, but it's not because I've already put a stitch in there. So if you are new to crochet and you're using a larger hook with a thinner yarn, not what it's called for, if you're going rogue, then you may not see the stitch that you already put in that stitch. So yeah, so we have to go into the new stitch. And I really didn't, anyway. Since this is measured to your body, if you don't want to have it as big and holy like this, with the giant hook with the skinny yarn, you don't have to. You can certainly use, you know, a 5mm hook and yarn that matches each other, of the same content and the same weight, and do the exact same thing. This is just how I made the sleeves the way you've seen them. So that's what I'm trying to show you. But since it is measured, it's not like you have to do the number of stitches that I'm doing. Since it's measured, you can do it with any weight yarn, any size hook, for a doll. So I just went into the last stitch in my round. Here's where my stitch marker is. This is the middle stitch. It's the first stitch that's there, but it's the middle stitch of where the stitch marker was, of this turn, of this corner of a sleeve. So what I want to do is down here where I made these two stitches, I'm going to make another half double in that same stitch. So I've done the last stitch. Now I'm going to go into this stitch where the stitch marker is and just do a slip stitch right there. I'm going to go in, so I chained one. I'm going to go into where the stitch marker is, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through, do a single crochet. Now I'm going to go into this right here, this one strand, go under that one strand, draw up a loop, so I have two on my hook, yarn over, pull through both. Now this stands for a half double or a double in my book, because I like to do this. You don't have that kind of hinky single crochet in here. You also have a stitch up here at the top without having to go into a chain. That works for me a lot easier. I've been doing this on a lot of wearables where, let me get that where I want it, where instead of it being a chain where you kind of pull kind of tight there, I just do a stack double, and that gets me where I want to be. Now what I want to do, I'm going to do one more round with this purple. I'm going to do double crochet around. So I'm going to count this stack double as a double. And since it's my very first one in the round, I'm only going to do 2 stitches at this stitch marker to begin. I'm going to move my stitch marker up to the very first stitch, because when I come back around at the end of this round and add another stitch in here, that's going to be the center of my increase. The increase is on a raglan, at least this raglan is 3 stitches where your stitch marker is. And then you put the stitch marker in the center stitch of your increase. So this will be the center stitch of my increase, because I'm going to come back around at the end, put one more double, and then join. And now for each stitch without a stitch marker, I'm going to put a double crochet. 1 double crochet in each stitch between stitch markers. When I get to the stitch marker, I'm going to do 3 stitches and move my stitch marker up to the center stitch, to the second of the 3 stitches of my increase. Purple. Here's my stitch marker. I'm going to do 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to move this stitch marker up to the second of the 3. There. I'm going to continue on. You continue on. And when I come back, so you can pause here. When I come back, I'm going to show you how I'm going to change color and start into the granny stitch, which is how I'm going to do this whole thing with the granny stitch, so it's nice and simple. Understanding though that you can put any stitch you want in here, any one you want. I'm just going to show you with the granny stitch. So if this is the first one that you've done like this, then you can pay more attention to your yarn, to your different content in your yarn, to the larger hook than what is called for your yarn, and that's kind of the branching out point, not the stitch itself. Then when you make a second, third, fifth, 20th sleeve, because let me tell you, these are addictive, then you can change your stitches to some of your favorite stitches. You could put in some bobble stitches, you could put in some puff stitches, you could put in whatever you like, and it'll be fantastical. So yeah, so I'm gonna finish this round and then I'll come back and show you that when I change my yarn. I've made it back around, put in my stitch, my last stitch in my last empty stitch, and now I'm going to do the first of the 3 on this first corner. So there's my stitch marker, my very first stitch that I did that I said turns into the center of the 3. So I'm going to put in that same stitch 1 more double crochet, and then I'm going to attach here. Chain 1. And give it a long enough tail to do something with. It's kind of hard to weave in with these since it's so loose, but we'll figure something out. Put it back in there. I'm gonna go with I had a little bit of yarn barf. I'm gonna go with my loops and threads flex. So I'm just gonna leave a bit of a tail because I still don't know how creative I'm gonna have to get to do something with that tail. Whoopsie. Just pull that through. Okay, so now I have a knot. So now I'm going to go into this stitch where the stitch marker is. I am going to do, let's see, yeah. Pull through 1, chain 1. So did slip stitch on, chain 1. Now I'm going to do a single crochet. Then I'm going to go in this one leg, the left leg of this single crochet, the front of the single crochet. Pull up a loop. So I have 2 on my hook. Then I'm going to yarn over and pull through. So that makes a single crochet on top of a single crochet, or a stacked, you call it a stacked double or a double stacked single? I don't know. I'm starting granny stitches now. And so since I'm starting granny stitches, the center where I want to leave this, I want to join it again when I come back around with the other half, with the first half of the increase. An increase is going to be an additional granny stitch. Granny stitch in this case meaning 3 double crochets. And I'm going to put this stitch marker, now it's going to go with this first one with this fake double crochet, which is the stacked in that stitch. Just waiting for me to come back around, do 3 more double crochets, and and then a join. So now what I'm going to do, since I'm going to do a granny stitch. So I want groups of 3 double crochets. So I'm going to do, instead of each one putting 3 double crochets in, I'm just going to skip 1 because I'm growing this pretty big. I just want it to be big and flowy, right? So I'm just going to skip 1 stitch and then go to the next stitch off this corner, skip 1, go to the next stitch, and I'm going to put 3 double crochets in it. Now, what I love about doing this type of really open, flowy look is that as long as you're not pulling it in tighter and you're giving it a little bit of flow, it doesn't matter what you're doing. I'm going to skip the next stitch and then the second stitch after that. I'm going to put 3 double crochets. I am not putting in 1 chain in between the granny stitches. I'm not sure that it would make that big of a difference. You are welcome to do that if that's kind of your go-to. My go-to is to not put in a stitch. Now when I come back around, I put 3 in the gap. And so when I'm just talking and stitching and crocheting, I don't put in that extra chain. To me, it's an extra chain. I don't put a chain in between the 3 double crochet granny stitch. So if that's what you want to do, go for it. If you want to do 2 double crochets and a chain, 2 double crochets and 2 chains in between, go for it. As long as it continues to stay the same or grow just a little, you're good. That's what this is. So now I have a stitch. I'm going to skip that stitch, go into where my stitch marker is, and do an increase. Now for this increase, I'm going to do 3. This is like a corner. So I'm going to do 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochet. Okay, that's my corner. I am going to now take this stitch marker, move it up to this chain 2. That's where my increase is going to be now. Skip the next stitch, go into the second one off of the corner, do 3 double crochets. I did not put a chain in between because that's the repeat that I am using. Skip one, go to the second, do 3 double crochets. Skip one, go to the next one, do 3 double crochets. I'm going to do this until I get to the next corner, to the next. All right, once you get to the next stitch marker, we're at an increase. So I'm going to do 3 double crochets, chain 2, just like a granny square corner. Well, he's kind of gotten in my way. 2, 3. And then I'm going to move my stitch marker up to my chain 2. And continue around. And so what I'm going to do is just skip one, 3 double crochet, skip 1 stitch, 3 double crochet all the way down. Then I'm going to skip the last one, and in the corner I'm going to do 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, skip the next one and do the same thing all the way around, and then I'll meet you at the end. I've come around to my last corner, and just as I did before, here's that stitch marker, but I need to complete this increase at this corner. So I just finished that stitch. Here's the last stitch I'm going to skip. This is just that join blob. And then here, where I have that granny, what do you call that? It's not a granny, is it a granny stitch? A granny cluster. A granny cluster? I'm going to put in 3 double crochets in that same stitch to complete that corner. So 3 double crochets, chain. I need 2 chains, right? Or the length of 2 chains. So I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to go into this stitch that I'm going to join to, and I'm going to do a single crochet, which gives it more length in that center. Now instead of chaining 1 and going under, I'm just going to go directly in, pull the yarn up, do a single crochet around that single crochet I used to join. Now I'm going to go into that left leg, just under that one left leg, pull yarn up, have 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through That's my fake double crochet, or my stacked double crochet, stacked single crochet. I don't know. I just do what I do. So that's the first one. So I'm going to do 3 here at my beginning corner. And then I'm going to move my stitch marker to the first one, to the first fake one, to that stacked stitch. That's what I'm going to join to when I come back around, and now I have space to put in 3 more double crochets. That's how I like to do it, to keep the join in the center of this, of the back of the right sleeve, as I am creating the top part, the yoke part of this raglan sleeve. Now, here's my 3, 1, 2, 3 stitches that I'm going to skip over. And then here's the next granny cluster, 1, 2, 3. In this gap in between, there's not a chain 1, just in that gap, that's where I'm going to put 3 double crochets. Oops, 1, 2. Now this yarn is slicker on my plastic hook. Maybe it's just the bamboo in this humidity. I'm not sure. So there's the 3, there's the cluster. Now I'm going to go into this gap. So now we're doing the granny stitch. We're not going into any stitches. We're just finding that gap where it's nice and simple, and you can watch a movie and keep up with what's going on because you can just feel it with your fingers, right? I love it. Even a mystery. You can watch a mystery. You can watch a scary movie in the dark because you can feel where it is. Well, you can see it. So here I'm at the stitch marker. I'm at the corner. So I'm going to do 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. I'm just going to continue on and do another round with this before I start measuring and see where I want to think about connecting and making a sleeve. I went ahead and did 2 more rounds. I have a total of 3 rounds in mine of the granny cluster. And then what I did is I stopped there and then just connected where my stitch markers are for the increases, and then put them over my head with my arms through them to make sure that it fit. It's like a shawl that your arms go through, so it doesn't have to be fitted perfectly to be very, very beautiful, very flowy, very useful. So as long as it fits around, it's good. We don't really have to be so concerned about measuring the bust area, because it's actually, the way I make these, the top part, the front, stops before it gets down to any, well, for me, I don't know how you guys are shaped. Mine aren't as perky anymore, so they're not as high up anymore. So there's no sense in measuring the bust area, because the way I make it, it stops before it gets to that measurement. So, but you're trying it on. So make sure that you're trying it on because it's made to your own specifications and needs. This is where I stopped. I have not joined yet at the end. So what I'm going to do, since this is as far as I want to go, the way I like to do this is with 3 colors. I like to have a darker color around the neck, and then a second color. And then before I go on to the sleeves, I want to make sure that I have the 3rd color as part of the front so that it all goes together. So I'm going to join here. Since I am going to join and finish off this color, I'm going to go ahead and chain 2 and then just do a regular slip stitch, chain 1, and then cut my yarn. And now I'm going to use this cream colored, what is it? Winter white, snuggly wiggly, winter white. So we're back to for me anyway, this is a 3 weight. So we started with a 3 weight, then this was a 4 weight. Now we're back to a 3 weight. It's okay. It's no big whoop. So here's where we connected. I'm going to go into this chain 2 and slip stitch on, chain 1, and then do single crochet, and then into that left leg, drop a loop, do a single crochet on top of the single crochet. So we've got a stacked stitch. I'm going to start with 3 double crochet here. Now what we're going to do, I am going to mark this first stitch without splitting the yarn, okay? And then I am going to do some chainless foundation to go around the arm. So this is going to be the beginning of the sleeve. So what we have here, this is the front right here. This is the back of the right arm. This is the front of the right arm sleeve. So what I want to do is to connect. Now before I connect, I want to give it a little bit more loosey-goosey. We know that it fits. Now I'm going to give it about this much space extra. So I'm going to do 12 stitches to add to the circumference of the sleeve. So what I'm going to do is yarn over, go into that same stitch, draw up a loop. I'm going to yarn over, make a chain. That's our foundation that we create, and then I just do the double crochet. Now for the next double crochet, I'm going to go under 2 loops of that chain that I made, draw up a loop, make another chain, and then yarn over and do my double crochet. Yarn over, go into that chain that, if you noticed, I hung on to. Make a chain, put my fingers right there, do a double crochet. So I'm going to make 12 of these. Yeah, so I've got 1, 2, 3 that were all the way on here. And then this one, I started off in that same stitch, but I made a chain, and that's what I came off of when I made that double crochet. So that's the one. I'm going to make 12. So I'm not counting these first 3. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to make 8 more of the foundation double crochet. Right. And like I said, so I've got 11. I'm going to make my 12th one, but I want this 12th one to be connected over here to the front of the shoulder, so that this is going to come together and make the sleeve, right? So I am going to start this foundation double crochet like I normally would. Go in, I'm yarning over, I'm going into that chain that I made, but then I'm also going to hook it into this chain 2 of this corner on the front of the shoulder. So I'm going to draw the yarn through that and through this chain. So I have 3 loops on my hook now. Yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2, pull through 2, whatever. So I've got my 12th stitch, 12th double crochet attached to this chain 2 of this corner, like I have the first of the 12 attached to this chain 2 in that corner. So now I've got these 3 on the corner, 3 double crochet on this side. I'm going to do the same thing over here. 3 double crochet. Here we go. Now I don't need this anymore. I'm going to take that stitch marker out. And now as I go across here, what I'm going to do to change it up just a little bit, just to kind of finish it off a little bit more, since this is the front and then the back is going to be the same way, I'm going to do just a straight double crochet in each stitch. So the number of stitches I have in between, so this just gives it a little bit more of a structure, I mean barely, if there's any structure to this at all, across the front. And now with the number of rounds that I have done and the number of stitches that I started with, between the 3 double crochet corners, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I've got 45 stitches. So if you've been following along the same as me, then you should have about 45 stitches. It's okay if you're off by 1, more or less. Not more or less okay, but you know, more or less than 45. I'm going to do 3 double crochet in this corner. Take out my stitch marker, I don't need it anymore. And then I'm going to start my foundation double crochet. Again, I'm going to start it in this chain corner. I'm going to chain 1 to create that foundation for the next double crochet. And then I'm going to keep going until I have 11 so that I can make the 12th connected to the back of my left shoulder. I have 11 done past the 3 in the corner, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And here's the back of my left shoulder here, the last stitch marker. Well, not the, you know, it's the last indicator of the stitch marker for increases. I'm going to yarn over for a double crochet. I'm going to go in to this chain that I did for the foundation and go into this from the top down into this chain 2. Grab the yarn, pull it through, and pull it through that chain from the foundation. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Did that double crochet. Look, it looks just as funky as the last one. Now I'm going to do 3 double crochets here. And then take out this stitch marker and do double crochets across the back, making sure you grab this stitch in the corner. And do just double crochets in each one of the stitches across till I get to where I started over here. Okay, I'll meet you back there. I've made it down across. I have 1 more stitch, 1 more double crochet, and now I'm at the stitch marker of the 3 that I put in initially. Take that out, and all I need to do is join with a slip stitch and a chain 1. And there we have a good beginning to the sleeves. Got the yoke. I'm not yoking. We've got the yoke done. We've got the sleeves started. So I'm not going to continue down this way, up, down, this way, because that's the end. That's the end. What I'm going to do now, and what's fantastic about this foundation double crochet here, is that this chain is so nice to work into. This is the top of the stitch that we would normally work into. This is the bottom, but it's really nice to work into this. So what we're going to do is start the sleeve going around this way. So we've already done the edging there. We're just going to now start the sleeve right there. So I did 3 rows of each color. 3 rows of the winter white, 3 rows of the, what is that, thistle? I forgot to use the right name. And then 3 rows of the flex. And that has started this sleeve here. Now I'm going to go back to the winter white, and I'm going to change up the stitch just a little bit, just a little bit, and just do trebles around. And this is quite wide at the top, which is the way I like it to be, kind of loose across my shoulders. And so, but then I want it to be a little bit, let's say, narrow around my arm, not tight, not really narrow, not at all. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to attach this winter white, and I'm going to be stitching in the stitches instead of between the granny clusters. I'm going to be stitching in the stitches, and I'm going to start under the arm, which is over here. This is the collar, or the neckline, not the collar, the neckline, and this goes under the arm, so that's where I'm going to attach. And then I'm just going to I'm going to stitch in 2 and then skip 1 all the way around. So I'm going to connect here and just do a standing single crochet, and then I'm going to do, since it's a treble or a triple, whatever, I'm going to do a stack of 3 single crochets here to give it a little bit thicker, more substantial of a look instead of just a chain. And also it gives me that stitch at the top to actually join to at the end. So that I'm going to count as a treble. Then I'm going to do a treble in the next stitch. And then I'm going to skip 1. I'm not chaining or anything. I'm just going to skip 1 and go to the next. These are so loose that I decided against doing 2 together. I think that it looks better than that look, but you know, to each your own. If you would rather do 1 regular treble and then 2 trebles together, and then 1 regular treble, 2 trebles together, more power to you. You might even like that look better. But here's 2, and then I'm skipping 1, and then I'm gonna do 2. Oops. Oh my goodness. And then I'm going to skip 1. I'm going to do that all the way around. I'll meet you at the end. I'm back here at the end. I have 1 more stitch to do. So there's my 2 trebles, and then I'm going to skip 1, and that's my last stitch. So then here is that triple stack of the single crochets that I did instead of the chain. So on the top there's an actual V to go into. So I'm going to go into that V and do a little slip stitch here. Now I'm going to continue to crochet. I just keep saying stitch. I'm going to continue to crochet a treble all the way around, but what I'm going to do this time, I've already done the decrease, and so what I'm going to do this time is just 1 for each. But to make it easier on me, I'm just going to slip stitch over here between these 2 and do a chain 1, and then do a triple stack. So 1 single crochet in the left leg, pull up a loop, another single crochet, left leg, pull up a loop, another single crochet. So that it looks like 2 really loose chains, but they're connected. So it kind of gives it a nice, a little bit more substantial than a chain. So I'm just going to go all the way around doing a treble between all of the stitches as I go. So it's still kind of, you know, it's 1 treble, but it's kind of a granny feel because you're not having to go into a stitch. You're just going in between them. And that's always fun and fast, and you can watch your shows or talk to your family or whatever you're doing while you're making things. I like it. I'm going to continue doing that all the way around, and then do a 3rd round of this winter white. And then I have decided to do 3 rounds of trebles in this thistle, this purple, the bamboo, after that, and then I'll be back. So keep working on yours, and I'll see you in a mo. So here we are so far. I'm just going to show you a little bit here. I just tried it on, and I put in the three rounds of the treble in the winter white, and then the 3 rounds in the purple of the treble, and it comes down to about here. Well, it comes down to here, not about, you're looking at it. It comes out to midpoint in my lower arm, and I don't want this to become too long. I want to be able to function still because I wear it at work. I don't want my pen to get stuck in the bell sleeve. So this is about where I want to start the flare out, because I'm going to do 2 more sets of granny stitches, granny clusters. And so 2 more sets of 3 rounds. So what am I trying to say? 6 more rounds of granny clusters. And I'm going to do that in the winter white and then with the flex. I don't want the end of my sleeve to be this nice, crisp, clean white, because I dip my sleeves in everything throughout the day. And so I want there to be natural flex on it. So if I get it into my coffee, the whiteboard, the whatever, I'll be okay. And you can see, now that I've laid it out, hopefully you can see what I was talking about. It was nice and roomy at the top part of the sleeve. And then we took away a couple of the stitches. So you have a little bit of that natural tapering in, even though this has the same number of stitches as this does. But this is a puffier yarn than the bamboo. Now what I'm going to do is flare out again. And so what I'm going to do is start with the winter white. Find the end here. So we will start again with another color. And to continue with the theme of between stitches, I'm going to start down here, and I'm going to attach between the stitches, and I'm back to double crochets because I'm doing the granny cluster in this first area here. So I did the standing single crochet and now a second single crochet. So we have the stacked, and then I'm going to do 3 total, so 2 double crochets here. And now to continue, in order to increase our number of stitches, total stitches, I'm going to skip only 1 and then go to the next stitch. And I'm going between stitches, so I'm going to do another cluster of 3. 1, 2, and 3. And now I have my thumb braces on again, because I'm not quite sure why this is hurting. I think because it's thin yarn and a big hook, 9mm hook, and so there's a lot of motion in my thumb. I end up holding it overextended. I don't know, you know, at some point you have to stop saying, I think this is why it hurts. I think this is why it hurts. It's just, you know, using my thumbs makes my thumbs hurt because I overextend, and so I use it incorrectly, perhaps. I don't know. I'm just really glad I have these to put on every now and then. So I am at the end here of this first round. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect, I'm going to join right here with a slip stitch, do a single chain, and then kind of back up and do a stack of 2 single crochets. Give me my fake double, and then do 3. A granny cluster. And then I'm just going to continue around. And like I said before, I do not put a chain between my granny clusters. I just go in between each cluster. So if you get around and you find that it's not quite belly enough for you, this is a really good point to be able to, like maybe with the second color, at that point, I would, if I were you, add a stitch in between the clusters. And that way you have one set of granny stitches, one set of 3 rounds, oops, of granny stitches without, and then 3 rounds of granny stitches with a chain in between, should you want them larger than what they get to be. Definitely try it on, see how you feel about it. If you want to put that extra chain in between, then go for it, man, because you are going to be wearing it, not me. You are. So whatever makes you happy. And I find these sleeves I put on and they make me happy. So for sure, whatever makes you happy. I'm going to continue on, make the 3 rounds with this, 3 rounds with the flex, and I'll be back. I've gone all the way around, and now I'm going to join here with my first stitch with a slip stitch. And now I'm going to, in order to finish off the bottom of this sleeve with just a little bit of weight, and just to make it look a little bit more finished, I'm going to do slip stitches around in each stitch. So I already did that one. And now I'm just going to do a slip stitch around in each one of the stitches. Just to finish it up. It gives it a nice look, I think. You don't have to if you don't want to. But see, it just kind of finishes that. Instead of this is what it looks like without, which is fine. And then this just gives it that little bit of a finished look. So I'm gonna finish look, I'm finished. So I'm gonna go back into the first one here. Let's see, what's the easiest way to do this? Go back into the first actual stitch, not this top stitch, the top slip stitch. Go back into the actual stitch and slip stitch, and then chain, and then I'm going to cut a tail. Now I'm going to show you. All right. So we're coming back around the neck to finish that. And at this point, I hope that you kind of figured out that you're going to go do the other sleeve. Go do the other sleeve exactly like you did the first one. And so if you did it just the way I did it, that's one way. There are about a zillion other ways to do it. So however you ended up doing it, just follow that pattern. So the first sleeve, you can be all kinds of creative. Just make sure that you can tell what you did or take notes on what you did so that your other sleeve ends up the same. Now I'm just going to connect again my purple yarn just right where I started. I don't know if you can tell, I already laid, I was telling you that I lay my clothes in things all the time. Well, I didn't even have this on and I laid it in coffee. So I haven't gone to spot clean that. Isn't that awful? So anyway, so I put it in there where I started in that big mess of stitches. And now I'm going to just single crochet around this chain. I also changed from the 9mm because I want this to pull up just a little bit. When I tried mine on, the neck got a little bit heavier with all of this, which you always should assume that's going to happen. But even if you do, it's hard to tell how much it's going to happen. And so I didn't like how much it was pulling toward the shoulders for me. So I'm going to, while I finish this off, I'm going to just put a little bit more tension in it so that it is a little bit more snug. So I'm just doing a single crochet using an 8mm crochet hook as I go around these stitches. One way that you can tell, however, where the stitch is, if you look at this, let me pull this out a little bit. If you look at this, there are 3 strands of yarn. The 2 that come out of the top here see if I can get under that. The 2 that come out of this V of the next stitch, there's only 2 there because the 3rd one is underneath it. I don't know if you can see that. So it's the 2. So as you crochet along and it starts getting a little twisted, you might start picking this up and leaving that other one down. Not that that's a big deal, you know, but if you want to be precise about it, which who crochets for the precision, but you know, if you want to, it's the 2 that come out of the V there. And you can do a single crochet in that if you want to be in the stitch precisely. So yeah, like I said, you could do those sleeves. You could get real creative with that first one. Take some notes, see what works, frog out what doesn't, go back in for another try. Typically the way I do that, it's a nice way to try out some new stitches. Yeah. When Crystal at Bag a Day had her design challenge out, I did some sleeves and actually used one of her stitches with one of the colors down the sleeve. And you have to be a little bit creative, think out of the box a little bit to make it into a round. At least I did for the stitch that I chose. Make sure that you have the right number if it's a multiple, which this one was, and just kind of make it work. And what I've done on some sleeves is that for each color, as I go down the sleeve, I try a little bit different of a stitch, whether it's a granny cluster, or it's just a treble, or it's a shell, which is kind of like a granny cluster, or if you want to put in a bobble or a popcorn, or gosh, I don't know, could you do a Catherine wheel? I don't know. Whatever your favorite stitches are, you should could see if you could put those into your sleeves. Have some fun yarn, some fun colors I want to do. Have a little top that's a little bit too bare on the shoulders, and I want to wear it to school, to work at the school. You know, I can just make some sleeves to go with it. And it's cute. And voila. There's my neckline. Right there. So it comes in just a little bit. Right there. Now, so the last little bit before you can put it on and wear it in all of its glory will be to weave in the ends. Now I've only left a few so that I can kind of show you what I've been doing. Now this is a strange looking needle, I know. This is from a pack of just craft needles that I got, and it's a sharp point. It's a sharp point. And I think it was marked as like for sales or something, you know, like for sailboats for sales. I don't know. I don't remember what it was, but it's a sharp tip. And so I use this whenever I can. It's kind of long, and it's just barely bent, and the eye of the needle is kind of small. So, but I'm using it because of the sharp tip. Now I know that you can get on to Amazon and order some tapestry needles that have a sharp tip instead of the blunt tip tapestries, and I would suggest that you do that for weaving in ends, especially for something that's loose like this, or with yarn that is kind of slick and shiny, those that tend to come out. Because what I try to do is to go through the fibers of the yarn. So this type of yarn is a lot easier to do, so I'm just going to do one at a time, even though I could do both of those at once. But I'm just going to take it back down in, and then here where the single crochets are, I'm just going to go in there. But what I'm trying to do is I'm holding it between my thumb and my pointer finger, just so I can kind of squish it down, and I'm kind of wiggling the needle as I go through. I'm trying to catch fibers, and of course you want to be careful. You don't want to, you know, poke yourself, but you want to get it through the fibers and then pull it through. Now the other thing is with something like this, that first you create a really good knot in the yarn itself. And that way, the only thing you're doing here is weaving in the tail. If it comes out, it's just a tail hanging out. And you also want to keep going back through where you just came from. Go back and forth 3 times is the magic number for me. So if I'm going back through, I'm going to try to, by going back through the same one, I'm hoping that I'm catching the fibers of this actual yarn that just came through. And that's a really good way to get it nice and tucked in. So yeah. So, yeah, so if it comes out and it's just a tail, well, then you can just weave it back in if you want. But if you've tucked in the tail, hoping that that's the knot as well, when it comes out, you run the risk of undoing your garment, and you don't want to do that. So that was 3 times. So I'm going to cut this and just make sure, especially in a loose stitch like this, make sure that you're not pulling too tight, or you're going to lose the integrity of the stitch, and it's just going to be, you know, pulling it tight. So that's what I did. I have another one of those. Now I'm going to come, this is one of the slick ones that I still have. This is when, especially the nice, skinny, slick, shiny yarns with a nice open loose stitch, it's really difficult. So try to take it to where there's a nice fat place. There happens to be one right here. If this wasn't there, then I would take it down here and then go back and forth here. But this is right there, so I'm going to go in there. I'm just going to take it down in, hold it between, oh, now I've got my middle finger, so pointer finger, middle finger, and your thumb, whatever. Squish it down and then just kind of rock it back and forth so that you're grabbing some fibers without hurting yourself. And bamboo is a little more dense, so getting it through is tough once you can get it, which is good. If it's tough getting through, keep working at it, because that means you've gotten into some of the fibers, and that's what you want. So that's one. Make sure I don't have it too tight. Pull it out a little bit. Go back through a second time. And make sure that you're going over one thread so that you don't just pull out what you just went in. So go over one thread and then go back in. So there's something stopping it from going all the way through, right? So that's 3. So I'll cut that off and make sure that we're not too tight. There you go. So hopefully that works out for you, and I hope that you really enjoy these sleeves as much as I do. And I'm sure that other people will just really enjoy them on you. Be ready for people to ask you to make them for them. Yeah, we'll have fun with it. You are more than welcome to make them and give them away if you'd like. Make them and sell them if you'd like. They really don't take very long at all. So, yeah. And they fit a lot of people. There is some sizing involved, but not a whole lot. It's one size fits most. So this would be something that would be nice if you were at a craft fair or something to make and sell. So good luck to you. I hope you have a good time, and I hope you enjoyed this. And please thumbs up if you did, and subscribe to my channel if you have not. There will be more tutorials coming out soon. And I do have a semi-weekly, not like technically semi-weekly, but I try to do a weekly podcast and whatever else kind of piques my interest along the way. So thank you very much, you guys. Have a good time. Bye. And let me show you some other options of just wearing them like this, just as sleeves. I get chilly because of the air conditioning. Not because it's cold outside. This is not going to keep you warm like that. But sometimes I even get too hot. I'm still chilly on my arms. Maybe it's the age. I don't know. If it makes me too warm, I don't have to take the whole thing off. I just flip it back. And then I wear it like this. And yeah, it's open on the back, but I think that's kind of cool looking, you know? So, and typically at work, you're not gonna have a bare back like that. It's just gonna be your shirt that shows through on the bottom and toward the top there. So you could do that. This one, I closed the hole, so the back is covered, and I only wear it like a bolero, like this. Even bigger bell sleeves, so lots of different ways you can do it. This one I did lots of different types of stitches all the way down. So sometimes I need something that's not all big and bright and colorful. I know, right? And there's this one that's just one color. And the sleeves are a little bit different shape again, and much shorter. If I get too hot, 'cause I'm working so hard, put it back like that. And it's just my sleeves. Then I get a little chilly again. I gotta cover my chest. So versatile. And it's not gonna fall off when you have it on like this, unlike a shawl, because it's all put together. You know, it's all one piece. So I love that. It's just for my shoulders and my arms pretty much, and I don't have to keep tugging on it. So I love, love, love these. So lots of different colors, lots of different options. You make it for you and your colors that make you happy, that you wear.